And how many articles were written about how terrible and horrible you are just over the past month or so?
At least 20.
At least 20. I'm sort of feeling a little down personally that I can be out here saying pretty much the same things for so long, and I don't get the kind of attention that you did. I'm not sure how you pulled that off, but CNN was talking about you, and I'm going to tell you, you really managed to jump face first into the middle of it. Congratulations.
Well, yeah, Washington Post. And what I have to really give thanks to for my fame is JD Greear and Danny Aiken for loving me enough to throw me under the bus. And so, what would I do without the SBC that we give over $250,000 a year to in our church, if not to take their faithful pastors and smear them publicly?
Well, everybody, I think, but I commented to you, they just copied each other. They didn't do any. How many of these?
Never received a call. Never received a call from one news outlet. Still to this day.
So you're talking Washington Post, CNN, all the Baptist press sources, and what is
RNS?
Is your phone the Darth Vader mask back there? Maybe it's not working. Anything like?
No. Trust me, my phone's working because I have received many phone calls
just not
from people who are angry about what they wrote and
okay.
lied about me on.
Okay.
So my phone works.
All right. Just checking. Just want to make sure.
In fact, let me tell you real quick what happened in the situation. So I remember it very clearly because I was in Houston at a conference. I was sitting in my hotel room getting ready to go to the conference. I woke up that morning and I saw not just on Twitter, but in a variety of news outlets. This was 2 days after the inauguration, and there were a variety of Christians who were praising Kamala Harris and saying that she is an example for our daughters of a woman who is able to go all the way to the top of the ranks, if you will, in power in America. So the funny thing about this is that everybody's made this about me saying something bad about Kamala. And I wasn't talking to Kamala. I was talking to the Christians who are absolutely out of line in regards to their worldview. So I never one time had in my mind, hey, I think Kamala is Jezebel.
Right.
I sat there and simply said, well, what's a biblical example that I could give to your average Christian who would say, I'm really not doing a good job here making this comparison? Right. And I simply typed out very carefully a tweet that said, I can't imagine a godly Old Testament Israelite pointing their daughters to Jezebel as an inspirational role model just because she was a woman in power.
Right.
That's all that I said. Of course, I believe that Kamala Harris's policies in the way that she's governed wickedly have correlation to the biblical Jezebel in the regards of the wicked policies and the wicked evil deeds that she did. But what the evangelicals aren't getting is I was talking to them and how unbiblical they are. Wasn't really talking to Kamala. And that, the word of God's not sufficient enough and the gospel's not sufficient enough. So I know of one particular, I'm told of one particular pastor who, when he was asked, is the gospel not enough? He said, well, it wasn't enough for you and I to be able to drink at the same fountains in the 60s and the 50s. I mean, I don't even know how to address that. I certainly, am thankful for the things that happened in the civil rights movement. But the church has always been about the gospel of Jesus Christ being the very thing that changes hearts and transforms lives. But there is going to be a split in the convention. There's no doubt in my mind of that, because we're not going to go forward with Resolution 9. From my thinking, I'm not going to stay in a convention that does that. And there are others that say that if we do away with critical race theory, they're leaving.
Right.
So there's no doubt it's happening. And I'll say one other thing about the situation with JD Greear. It's just the hypocrisy that drives me crazy, because 2 days ago, JD lectures everybody and and basically calls us Pharisees that are raising these issues. And he talks about how we need racial unity, or excuse me, racial reconciliation and diversity. I should say racial diversity. Yet when he could have easily stepped down instead of taking an unprecedented third term. He could have easily stepped down and allowed the first vice president to become president, who is an African American. But he didn't do that. Put your money where your mouth is, pal. That's what I say.
I was unaware of that. I saw you tweet that a few days ago, but I didn't hear anybody talking about that a year ago. Why wasn't that on the front burner? That would have seemed to have been a real clear, loud signal. Why wouldn't that be a possibility? Did anybody even talk about it then?
Me.
Well, but you.
I went directly to JD and asked him why he didn't. Now, understand this, that Mike Stone, who's also running for president this year, he was the chairman of the executive committee, and he stepped down so that an African American could take his place. But JD stayed in his position. So I just think it's just hypocritical, and it's disingenuous to talk about how we need to have diversity, and then you have a great opportunity that you can, with your own action, in one step, immediately make things more diverse and have an African American move into the president of the SBC for this year of COVID, and he didn't do it. And I said something very publicly about it, and nobody else cared.